Nobody is getting fat from eating bananas. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I made a very simple statement, and I want people to think about that statement before we get into any research, any data. When people start bringing up topics of, well, modern fruit is full of all this sugar, and it's been genetically modified to do so, or selectively bred for, and it's making people fat, and yet it doesn't actually happen. Okay, that is an extremely unscientific statement, but common sense should dictate it also. When you look around in the world and you look at obesity, we all see it all around us. Okay, we see it every day, particularly in the West. Do the people you see who are gaining weight, do you see them sitting around eating fruit all day? Do you actually see this occur? Anybody? Maybe, but it's pretty dang rare if it is. Exceptionally rare. It would be the exception to the rule. It would be so rare that if any of you saw that person, you probably remember it because it stood out so much. When you look around, and we're going to get into people's theories and ideas in a minute, when you look around and you see the people around you who are continually gaining weight, you see them at work, you see them at school, you see what they do every single day. What are they eating? Tons of extremely refined foods. They're eating lots of fat, lots of sugar, right? A lot of refined carbohydrates, a lot of refined fats, usually a lot of animal fats on top of that. They're eating burger, pizza, french fries, donuts, right? They're drinking their giant 1,000-calorie frappuccinos. Okay, it's very, very easy to see what they're eating. Almost exclusively, they eat diets that are both high in fat and high in refined sugar. Now, before someone says, well, I only see the sugar. No, look at the foods. Stop and look at the foods they eat. They all eat. Everyone who is obese, morbidly obese, eats a very high-fat diet. Without fail, because it's biologically impossible otherwise. Okay? But they also eat a large amount of sugar. All right, so step back and think about the concerns with this. Does it even matter that there's more sugars in these fruits? No, because we're not getting large amounts of fructose to the liver. All right, what are the two things that have been shown in the lab, the metabolic ward, over and over and over and over and over, repeatedly to cause metabolic syndrome? And that means insulin resistance, non-alcoholic fatty liver in the lab. Which foods? Saturated fats when overfed. Yep. Sorry, keto people, that is documented in the lab repeatedly. Okay, the other one is refined fructose. That would be generally table sugar, high fructose corn syrup. Honey actually does the exact same thing, even though it's got some benefits. It doesn't remove the refined fructose part. Okay, all these things right up there. These are the two things that cause it. And they can do it in the absence of the other. Okay, again, demonstrated repeatedly. Fruit doesn't do this. Because, especially if you have any remotely healthy gut flora, a lot of the fructose in your fruit, all that sugar content, if it's glucose, it doesn't matter. Unless you already have metabolic syndrome, this is not really an issue. And even if it is, it would still be an improvement. I mean, that's the point that we come over to with that. If the people were eating all this terrible stuff, went over and ate just tons and tons of fruit and cut the junk out, even though they may have some malabsorption issues with the sugar, they would probably start losing body fat anyways. They would probably see some improvements in their health markers anyways if they did this. Might not be optimal in that case because, again, their malabsorption of glucose and things, but it would still be a dramatic improvement. So they would actually see improvements. But that aside, the fructose is not that big of a problem because we are converting most of it in our gut to glucose, which we can then utilize correctly. And keep in mind, we can handle a limited amount of fructose in the bloodstream before it even reaches the liver. We have enzymes that'll handle, 10 or 20 grams, depending, maybe a little more, depending on the person. Right, every day, but it's also going to be how fast it's hitting. How fast can you replenish that enzyme versus how fast if the fructose is hitting the bloodstream. Okay, it's a much slower release of it. Even though most of it's being handled by the gut, it's still, some of it that's reaching is a much slower release due to the fiber and whole matrix. Therefore, gram per gram, it's being tolerated a little bit better. It is very, very difficult to get enough fructose to the liver, which is our concern, to be a problem. Furthermore, there's no fat in it. We're only generally storing fat calories as body fat. That is not a controversial statement. It's been confirmed repeatedly in the lab, carbon isotope testing and everything. Only about 1% of the fat on our bodies comes from carbs that we ate. Okay, that is, again, intense studies have determined this looking in the lab. It's mostly from the fat you're eating, and pretty much none of the protein you eat ends up there. So when you're looking at the fruit, the fact that these fruits have more sugars, yeah, this is absolutely true. We've bred them to be sweeter. We've bred them for a higher nutrition content. Okay, yeah, absolutely. However, it's not correlated with metabolic syndrome or weight gain. And we're talking in the lab, so you look at the lab, but then when you look at epidemiology, it's the same thing you see in the real world. You don't see high fruit intake correlated with obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. It's not. It's inversely correlated. So the population studies absolutely match what we see in the lab. And let's come over and let's set aside everyone's dogmatic ideas. Well, this is what's causing. No. Step back so you see all that science and you say, well, I don't believe the science. I'll believe what I see with my own eyes. Okay? Okay, so let's do that. Let's disregard all that science and observe the real world. Are the 300-pound people you see eating fruit all day? Do you see them just eating plain bananas, apples, oranges? Is that what you see them eating all day? Or is it pizza, ice cream, donuts, treats? Okay. When you step back and watch them day to day, the people who are gaining weight continually, what are they eating? They're eating those things. They're not standing around eating bananas and apples all day long. Okay? Fact, and you know that for a fact. Anyone listening to this who wants to argue, you know that for a fact. Because you watch it and you see it. So what do you see with your own eyes? Your own eyes, what you're observing every single day watching people, literally matches the epidemiology. There's just a population studies that literally matches what you're seeing in the metabolic ward. The only disagreement are diet zealots with strange ideas about dietary sugar and vegetables and things. That's the only people disagreeing. The real world and the science all agree. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.